Welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Balance with Jessica Perez. I am so excited for my guest today. Her name is Rachel Cameron. She is the SVP of Partnerships and Wealth Networks for Nitrogen. Her and I met just over a year ago through the conference circuit. She is the only lady I know who works a conference harder than I do. She's so busy that she doesn't even get to post as many pictures as I do. So, Rachel, thank you for being a guest and welcome today.
Thanks for having me, Jessica. So excited to talk to you.
I'm so excited for this conversation. You and I get to have a lot of fun conversations about motherhood, about the busyness of what we do for work. So I want my guests to know a little bit more about you. Tell them who you are today, and then a little bit about your background of how you got into financial services and where you are.
Yeah, so I'm Rachel. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, born, raised, and currently still live here. So very much embedded in my community here. My dad lives down the street. My sister lives 30 minutes away. My husband's family's all here too. I've been married for 16 years, and my daughter is 8, and I also have a 3-year-old son. And how I got into nitrogen and just the industry that I'm in, there is a company. Well, first I started working at Merrill Lynch here in Jacksonville. And after a couple of years, there were a few friends of mine that left to go to this cool kind of technology company that was still in the financial services space called Black Diamond. And I had a lot of aspirations to work at Merrill and to kind of work my way up. I was being mentored by some of my directors and vice presidents, and they were all super excited for the career trajectory that I was on at Merrill. But after I learned a little bit about what was going on in the technology space and just the vibrancy and energy was where I ultimately wanted to be. You're also not regulated as much because you can kind of, in a startup is a lot different than like a 100-year-old company. So I got an opportunity to work at Black Diamond. I stayed in the same team-ish and just kind of worked my way up in that team for 4 or so years on the client service team. The platform was just so big and there's so much to learn always with the different releases that we had, the different culture teams that were at Black Diamond, and just the different opportunities that I got involved in. I learned how to be a learner in a role while also exceeding, kind of, doing what you do best. And then I got an opportunity to head up the integration network at Black Diamond. So that allowed me to work with all of our third-party partners and build and scale and grow the integration network. So all the API capabilities and migrate some third parties onto our newer system from legacy. And I was very intentional about that role because I knew that I was working with other people that were working for companies that I could also see myself working in. And I developed this mantra for myself while I was at Black Diamond in that role to be someone who others wanted to work with. And I thought about all the different ways that you could kind of think about that. I want to be responsive. I want to be helpful. If there's a no, I want to give a direct no and move on. If there, is an opportunity for expansion, I wanted to learn how it would benefit them. So I just loved partnerships and how it really impacted every single area of the business and kind of was its own business in and of itself. Whereas you got to develop a product, you got to impact sales, you got to collaborate with marketing, you got to develop content for the customer success team, and kind of have your own little sort of business or program within the whole company. It was so fun. And I left Black Diamond to work for another startup that was kind of outside of the wealth tech industry that was more multi-vertical technology. And opportunity really gave me a masterclass in learning how to do partnerships really well, how to structure different types of deals that I wasn't exposed to at Black Diamond, and also learn from people that were doing it from a big tech kind of way. And from there, went back into wealth tech, led up my first director of strategic partnership role, and then from there to Nitrogen. So really well-rounded career experience that I'm thankful that's kind of gotten to me to where I am today at Nitrogen. And along with that, building a family, married for 16 years, has pretty much been married the entire time in my career. Right after I graduated college, we got married. And just kind of building the same together at the same time.
I want people to understand who you are in the workplace, how I know you, and how incredible you are. You just got a promotion at Nitrogen as well.
Hmm.
So that I thought was really fun to talk about because you haven't been there for that long, but you're climbing the ranks, getting yourself established more and more because of your incredible background and how committed you are to your job. Let's talk about your traveling because I know I travel quite a bit. I think you're one of the few people who travels just as much, if not more, than I do right
Yeah.
now. How do you navigate that with two littles at home and, making sure you're present as well as making sure you're present? I tell people I practice really the presence wherever I'm at, not just like being present at home. It's a matter of when I'm at conferences, my husband does a great job of not bothering me. And I say bothering me, and I know some people are like, oh my God, it's your husband. But he knows when I'm there, I am present because I have a purpose and I
Hmm.
need to be there. And so distracting me when I am at conferences is very hard, and he doesn't do it unless he has to. And so I know you have a similar dynamic. We've talked about this quite a bit. So how do you navigate that in a way that makes you feel good wherever you are?
Yeah. Yeah, very similar to you. I know we relate to each other a lot in this way. So, about 4 years ago, we were lucky enough to sort of retire my husband from his job. And now he's the stay at home parent and I work. So, we have a really unique family life where I work a remote job. Yes, I travel. That's the way that I see my clients, my partners, my colleagues. But when I'm at home, I'm in the office adjacent to the house. My husband is, he's now the primary parent. That was a really crazy shift that we did. That, sometimes still takes some learning to get used to, and definitely outside of the social norm for, moms and dads, especially living in the South where I do, where it's not common to have a husband be the primary parent, but that allows me, whenever I do travel for work, I can just leave. I don't need to really worry about cooking dinner, making sure that the kids, school clothes are in order or that the laundry's done or anything like that. Like he's already handling that for us and for the household. So I really don't think I could do it without his help at all. If I would need to outsource some things, he was still working because balls would be dropped either at work or at home if I was still the primary parent expecting to perform at the level and travel to the extent that I am at home. Similar to you, when I do go to either conferences or meetings or events of some kind, we trust each other to handle our business. So Chad is, in full control at home. The kids have a routine. When I leave, my daughter likes to create a little nest in my bed and she will sleep in the bed and kind of like create her own little environment. And my kids like respect both of us. They respect Chad whenever he's at home alone with them when I go out to work. And yeah, like I'll check in. I'll make it a point to check in twice a day. So if I'm awake on the West Coast and it's 4:30 in the morning and I'm just sitting there awake because I'm on East Coast time, I'll just call them because I know they're on the way to school and I'll check in. We'll FaceTime in the afternoon when I know that they're eating dinner, and we still do that. But yeah, to your point, like it's just being focused on whatever I'm doing at that time. So that's been really helpful just to be able to outsource sort of the home life to Chad when I'm gone and trusting him that he will handle things when I'm not there.
How did you guys get to that decision? Because I think a lot of people struggle when they have that because two working parents feels necessary in today's world, right? And I have a lot of empathy when you have two working parents who are working outside of the home or doing full-time jobs and it takes away so much. This is a conversation that you have to say, okay, something's got to give in here because we are growing our family and we are growing income. We are doing so much that you can't do. I tell people all the time, you can do anything, you can't do everything. And that applies for marriages, that applies for work life, that applies for everything, right? So how did you guys come to that conclusion that, hey, Chad, this makes more sense that we should retire you because your career path and your trajectory was going up and fast?
Yeah. So we have kind of a unique family story, Chad and I. When our daughter PJ, who's now 8, almost 9, when she was 5 months old, we were both still working. That was when I was in my role at Black Diamond. It was pre-COVID, so I was going into the office every day. Chad had 3 back surgeries back to back to back when she was age 5 months to 14 months. So when Chad had the back surgeries, by doctor's orders, he was not allowed to pick up anything over 10 pounds. Certainly couldn't twist. He couldn't, do much physically. So he was not able to be the parent to Penelope, to PJ, the way that he really wanted to be. And that was really hard. It was hard for me. I was doing all the things. I was the breadwinner at the time. I was going into the office. I had to do every school drop off, every school pickup. In that role, I wasn't traveling as much as I am now, but it was definitely a Monday through Friday sort of deal. Because I was the primary parent, I was also doing all the lunches, all the dinners, all the breakfast, and on top of that, trying to figure out the lawn because he couldn't, use his back to do the lawnmower, just everything. And that was a really exhausting time for me. So that's why it took, a longer time for me to kind of get ready for a second kid. I did not want to have two babies at home, knowing how exhausted I was caring for PJ. And on top of her just being an awesome kid, she was also a very active kid. She crawled at 6 months old. She walked at 9 months old. She was a handful.
She gets it from her mama.
Yeah, yeah. She is a go-getter for sure. And I love her for that. So when we decided to have Charlie, thankfully I was in a newer job where I actually doubled my salary, leaving one job and going to another, a different company. And so that put us in a completely different financial position than we were before. And when I was pregnant with Charlie, we kind of realized, my salary is almost X of what ours combined was just a few months ago. And it actually wasn't me that brought up Chad working from home or being a stay-at-home parent. It was him, because with Charlie being born, it gave Chad the opportunity to be more present with him than he was with Penelope. And he was able to spend so much more time with him and caretake for him that sort of made up a lot of lost time that he didn't get to have with PJ. And also just made sense because I was in a job where travel was necessary. I was still working remote, so we were always together during the days that I was home, but whenever I wasn't home, him being able to be more present and just kind of that sort of force for the family, what just made a lot of sense. And yeah, he made the decision. I gave him a lot of warnings like, hey, it is not easy being a stay-at-home parent. You basically do not get hardly any days off. You don't, your days off means that I have to schedule days off, and yes, I'll do this for you. And I encouraged him to talk to some of our girlfriends who were stay-at-home parents and, just making sure that that was something that he was willing to do. And thankfully, we were in a position that after a year, we could put Charlie in like a little day school for a couple days a week. And that gave Chad a break. And, yeah, he loves it. It's been, a little learning curve because we eventually said goodbye to our housekeeper. That was hard. And eventually, just started to learn how to do just getting into your mind frame of doing things that you normally don't do day to day.
Yeah.
So we're in a pretty good dynamic now, 4 years in, but it was a difficult shift at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't think people understand that part of it is there's a lot. Like I always tell people I could never be a stay-at-home mom, but I praise those that can be a stay-at-home parent because there's a lot of work that goes in there, right? So I always tell people life is hard, whether you're working like we do out on the road trying to form partnerships and relationships or you're staying at home trying to navigate a whole house. Like I tell people all the time, you're a CEO of something, and that might be your household, that might be your business place that you're at. So for you, what does a day in the life look like with that type of support and help, not being the primary parent? Tell me what your day looks like and how structured it is, what it looks like morning, afternoon, and even evenings on most days. I know you travel quite a bit, but when you're at home.
I love these questions. Just like my favorite, I was a masterclass subscriber a few years ago, and one of the questions that they always ask the teacher or host or whoever it was like, tell me a day in your life, like from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, like what do you typically do? So, I'm still mom. Like I might not be making the lunches for the kids anymore, but we'll all wake up like around 7 or so. We kind of wait for, at that point, PJ's already awake. She's eating her breakfast. She's kind of getting herself ready for school. So she's in a really good routine where she does that on her own. We lay out her clothes the night before, and then we kind of wait for Charlie to wake up. And when he wakes up, we have this routine. I'll get him breakfast. We'll snuggle on the couch for a good long while. Chad and PJ are off to school, getting dropped off. Me and Charlie are having our moment in the morning where he's playing, like we're throwing catch. I'm getting him ready for school. And then he usually is off by around 8:30 going to school. And then that's when I will get dressed to go on a walk or get myself ready for my work day. I'll be checking my phone all morning and maybe responding to things over email from 7:30 in the morning on, but I'm not usually at my computer until about 9, 10, depending on the day. And how much I have to get done. But usually my strategy sort of time starts around 9, whether I'm like on a walk, doing a workout, or like getting myself ready. I'm just kind of like in the work mode, definitely from 8:39, like all throughout the rest of the day. And then I'm working, I'm at my desk. I will pop out to eat lunch, maybe for 5, 10 minutes. Normally I'm bringing lunch back here. Chad will kind of like come and take his hand and like take my lunch stuff away so he can clean my dish. Try to be unseen when he comes into my office. But then, yeah, Chad will do pickup. PJ and Charlie. If there's a school event, I'll put it on my calendar to make sure I attend and that, I don't have any meetings that are scheduled. Like Charlie has an Easter egg hunt this week at school. I'm going to be going to that. PJ has muffins with mom on Wednesday. I'll be doing that in the morning with her. So that's really nice. And then I'm also still the one that makes dinner. So usually by 5:30, I get 6 eyeballs looking at me from my office door in my window and saying like, when is dinner? What are you making? Like, can you do this and that? So I'll come out, make dinner, and then we do the nighttime routine from there.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of the day. Yeah. I'm lucky that my office was like a add-on that the old owner did. And so I have a door that is kind of soundproof almost. I don't really hear or see, or I can see, but I don't really like hear what goes on in the other parts of the house and vice versa. So it feels like a private space and I love my office. I can just close the door and just be in the main house, like at home and not really think about work because the office is kind of out of sight, out of mind. I really needed that separation between work and home life. So I couldn't imagine. I'm always amazed at my friends who have an office in their bedroom or an office in the living room or dining room. And so like they're just kind of in the same space all day long. I couldn't do that.
That's a
I'm
lot
glad
of
to have the
work.
separation.
Yes.
Yeah.
When the kids were really little, I had an office in the room and that just did not work. And so I'm so grateful now that I have an office. And I keep talking to Sean about having a detached but some sort of office at the house that I can do
Hmm.
the podcast in, that I could, just become away and feel like I'm going to work, but not going to work. So I have a dedicated office space. It just doesn't feel like I go away or the kids still have access and I'll see them in the windows because it has glass doors and they'll stand there and they'll wait for me. I'm like, no, go away. I can see you. Go ask dad. But I'm very fortunate like you. Sean handles all of the pickup, drop off and pickup routine. And it makes my life so much easier to not have to think about that. I really do feel incredibly fortunate to have a husband that is that supportive. I talk to people about this all the time. I made a post about it on LinkedIn the other day, is
Yeah.
having a spouse that supports you, how important that is. I always say it's like a Robin to being Batman. I couldn't find another, team or duo that was like that, but I think that you and your husband have a similar dynamic. So with that, Rach, like how do you and Chad stay connected when you are working, when he is the primary parent? Because even no matter who the stay-at-home parent is, that is usually something that starts to feel strained, is how do we stay plugged in and connected when you're home so much with the kids and then the other version of us is out and about doing so much?
Yeah, that is hard because a lot of conversations just become like updates about the kids and like, oh, I'm just gonna update you on like what I did for groceries or like I updated the grocery list or I cleaned this or I like ran this errand and it feels more transactional. One of the things that we like to do is, and this is kind of dumb, but we'll send each other like TikToks and reels throughout the day. So like if I ever get a minute and I'm scrolling on whatever, or like we'll spend like 3 or 4 days to build up a library of videos that we watch together, and that's like just fun for us to do. By the time PJ goes to sleep, we get like an hour to watch like one show together and then we just pass out after that. So we watch TV shows together, so we'll find things that we both like, or if he's watching a show and then I don't like that thing, then I'll just read while he watches and vice versa. But we enjoy watching some of the same stuff. So whether it's like, reality shows. It's just kind of like mindless. Or we just started the Dunkin' and Egg last night that we both really like. We're Game of Thrones fans, and so we started that together. So we do things like that. We try to do date nights. It's not very consistent. Like it's not like
Yeah.
regimented, like every night on this night of the week we're going to go out. But we have thankfully family and some good girls that we can call for babysitting that will do that once in a while. But
That's
yeah,
good.
just gotta get it in where you can fit it in,
Yeah, at this stage
you
of
know?
life, and I always tell people like these seasons will pass, right? The kids are little right now, and it feels like there's a lot going on there. But if
Hmm.
you find some time and you make it intentional, whether that's a TV show, Sean and I are like that too, where it might be junk TV and people are like, that's what you guys watch? It's like, yes, because it doesn't take a lot of effort. And at the end of the day, we're both tired. But
Yeah.
I love Game of Thrones. We love documentaries sometimes, but I just find that they're so boring. Like, I got to save them for when we have like more daytime
Hmm.
hours where we can watch stuff like that. Stay connected as a family. Like, what does that look like for you? Because I think, again, you're a lot like me, where the weekends and time when you are home, you're very intentional with that to make sure that you stay plugged in and that you guys can be connected as a family. What does that look like for your family?
Dinner time's non-negotiable. We always sit down and eat as a family for dinner. And even if we're sometimes eating different things, we're all sitting down together. So that's a good 30 minutes for us to be together. We have a no phones rule at the dinner table. So we like to put on music during dinner time. So like usually like I'll pick out a playlist or my husband will pick out a playlist. We'll have the TV off. So music's playing. So we kind of set a vibe depending on what it is that we're eating or like kind of the vibe of the day. I really look forward to that time because it really is the only moment in the whole day that we are all four together. We also go to church together. So Wednesday nights, we go to church midweek. My son is younger, so he is in the preschool, but my husband and I volunteer with my PJ's class. So I know she really enjoys having us there with her, volunteering with her friends. We can get to know her friends better and just kind of interact in a different environment. That's always really fun. Similarly, PJ will play sports through our church, and so on Saturdays when she has a game, it's a nice chance for connection to see our friends and to watch her play and to celebrate her and also have fun with Charlie. And then we're lucky around where we live in Jacksonville, there's so many parks. Like within a 2 mile radius, there's probably 5 or 6 playgrounds for the like that's like destination level playgrounds that people from other parts of Jacksonville like to go and play. And so we will park hop on the weekends or just drive around and go to, a park and eat lunch or just kind of have that family time. The rivers 2 blocks from our house, so she's recently started to fish in the creeks around the rivers. That's like you could walk to from our house, and so that's been fun to see like what she brings home. But yeah, we enjoy going to parks. Getting outside is really important, and having family dinners is top for us
Family
for
dinners
sure.
for us is a big one. No phones at the table. I even do that when people come over. I always tell people, like, everybody knows at my house the rule is no phones at the table. So it's pretty fun because the kids will tell people that too, like, oh, you can't have your phone here. And my mom's like, oh no, I'm just trying to. And they're like, no, 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 no phones. And so I think it's fun that they believe in that so much. And so when people come over, it creates so much connection. And the days are so busy. So finding connection when you can, I really like the music piece of it because I think we don't do that. We started doing like favorite parts of the day so everybody could share like what's the favorite part of their day. And that's been really fun as well. So with all of this, Rachel, like how do you make time for you inside of this? Like how do you make sure you're filling your cup? Because you're busy, you want to be a present mom, you have a husband who is holding down the fort as much as possible, but you
Hmm.
still remain present there. So how do you make sure that you're doing that? Because I found that was the biggest piece of it that would come with it, and I would feel a little guilty for still wanting to go do things for myself as I was gone so much. And eventually I had to let that go and realize like I'm an important piece in this also, and work and travel is not me time. It's just not. And so how do you make sure that you refill your cup and that you are, a priority in your world?
Yeah, I really love the quiet mornings. I love the time, one like obviously getting to sit with Charlie is really nice before he goes to school, but when he goes to school, it's really the only hour in my day where it's like my hour and there's no one else here at the house. Chad will drive him, he'll usually run an errand right after, and in my at my workplace, a lot of my colleagues and teammates are West Coast. So they're not usually logging in till about 10:30, 11:30 every day. So it's kind of like a quiet hour, not just in the house physically, but also before, the emails start coming in for work, and I can really like be present with myself and think. I can go out for a walk and listen to a book. I can listen to a podcast that I like, or I can start working. And I usually like to walk at my computer and listen to a playlist. But that's really how I fill my cup. Like maybe I'll do a devotional, or I'll just do something quiet with myself in the morning before I get started with my day. And that's been a really important ritual. I will often not give my personal availability to colleagues or friends until 10 a.m., knowing that I covet that slower morning so much for myself. If I am just kind of like ripped right out of bed and had to roll out and just start working within 30 minutes, I don't think I would be very happy.
At least you know that about yourself. So we
Yeah.
talked about this at the conference, but being busy and traveling a bunch, you have to have some hacks in life. And you shared one with me that I was like, how do I not know these things? Because I love wardrobe changes. I love, especially when
Mhm.
we go to conferences, I can't wear the same thing all the time. So share a little bit about the tip that you shared with me on your mom hack, your businesswoman hack, whatever you want to call it, with your
Yeah.
wardrobe.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of clothing rentals. So I use Nuuly. I'm a Nuuly girl. I'll name drop. And Nuuly has a lot of fun outfits. So it's great for vacation or for personal. It also has a lot of really great dresses and tops and bottoms too. So I can kind of get away with being business professional. It's mostly on the business casual or smart casual side of things, which is just fine for the role that I'm in and kind of the environments that I'm in mostly. But it's awesome. It is, you get 6 items, you can pick the items yourself, wear them as much as you want for an entire month, package it right back up, and then send it out, and then pick 6 more items to use. This time of year is when Nuuly shines for me because there's a lot of really, really fun dresses and just like wearing different, dresses, and it's so easy to pack. Especially like when the weather's warm, you don't want to wear a jacket or long pants or anything like that. So that is my hack. I love it. And it actually saves me money by doing it because I don't feel the urge to buy. And when I buy, my taste has gotten more expensive. And so I'm spending more and then I'm just, consuming more. So it helps me to kind of fill the need that I have to refresh the wardrobe every time I'm traveling while being able to wear fun things and save some money. So I love renting clothes.
I think such a cool hack. I remember you told me that, and I started looking into it right away because I love changing up my wardrobe, but I also don't like shopping. That's another thing that people just don't believe, that women don't love shopping. I don't love shopping. Sometimes it's overwhelming for me. And then I'm like you, I want to buy all of these things, but I don't want to be seen in them multiple times. So it becomes very complicated. So being able to rent your wardrobe, especially for conference season, that was game changing. So I'm really excited about this. You'll probably see me in some rented gear next time we see each other at a conference.
Yeah.
But it's thanks to you. What about at home? Any mom hacks, any life hacks that you and Chad use on your regular basis? Maybe not just you, just maybe even him, that you guys are using to manage your day to day life.
Yeah. Two things. One, I'm not perfect at this. I'm really not great at it either, but I'm trying to put my phone away after a certain time of night to be more present with the kids, like within a certain time period. So just not even having it in my hand, like putting it away on the charger in the other room, close the drawer, whatever it is. So I just out of sight, out of mind. And I can, I try to put myself in the mindset of a 90s mom. That's kind of like the mantra in my head. Like, what would a 90s mom do? 90s mom would probably be kicking her kids outside and like, wanting a quiet time alone. But ultimately, 90s mom doesn't have a device in their hands. Whatever email I'm getting at 7:30 at night Eastern time is not as important as what's going on with my kids and husband at that time of night. So whatever it is that's coming in at those hours can wait anyway. So I don't need to have the FOMO that stuff is coming in. That's something I'm still working on every single day. The other thing that I do to be more present and is kind of a mom hack. My mom was a really good activities mom. Like she wasn't, the mom that was like on the floor playing play pretend. I'm not that mom either. I am terrible when it comes to improvising games and kind of like the Bluey dad. Like, have you seen Bluey with like how
Yeah, no.
how creative and like amazing he is at just coming up with like play pretend and games? Like, I am not that person. I am like my mother, where I am an activities mom. So I just like I plan for meal prep and I buy ingredients to make certain recipes, like I have to do that with my activities. I have to kind of like pre-plan what I want to do with the kids. It sounds kind of regimented, but it's just kind of like what works for me. So like, all right, I know I want to make a cake with PJ, so I'm going to go ahead and buy the ingredients and like plan on Tuesday, no matter what, we're going to make a cake together and like teach her measurements and have her mix it and do that whole thing. Or we're going to make slime together on Friday. So I'm going to go ahead and like pre-buy the ingredients, and that's the activity that we're going to do that night. That's been really helpful, like whenever I think about it like a recipe and like a meal planning thing, to kind of like plan the activities and pencil them in on different days, where just like I know that like Tuesday I'm going to make spaghetti, for example.
Well, that's really good. And that's smart too. I'm like you. I do try. So Jacob, he's my son, he's 9. He is into these things called Beyblades. If you don't know what they are, you're lucky, but I never knew what they are, but they're these little like battle things that are spin tops. They're basically like tops, when you used to spin them, like the spin tops, except for they have like a launcher and it's in a stadium thing. And so yesterday he's like, Mom, do you want a Bey battle? I'm like, I guess, sure, like, so I try to say yes. That's what I told myself. That was like my mom tip is, are you saying no for no sake, or can it actually be a yes, right? Because I feel like oftentimes we say no to our kids not because it needs to be a no, but because it's easier to not distract yourself, or it's easier to not say yes to some of these things. And so I started trying to tell myself, like, can I say yes here? Whether it's, can he wear the funky socks, can I play the stupid game, can I listen to the story that they made up, or the song? Because Liliana is so creative when it comes to music. That girl can make up a song or a story for anything she's ever heard in her life. And so I started just saying yes more than no to these random things, because I rather plan and do like a paint night, and I'm not even good at painting, right? I'm not all things artistic and creative. I'm like you. I'm a planner. I'm structured. I can do activities, but they need to like fit into an area. And so I've just started to say yes more to my kids. Do you remember reading The Boxcar Children? Did you ever read
Yeah.
that? So
Hmm.
Liliana and I started reading The Boxcar Children, and she's like, "Why do these kids not have parents?" I'm like, "Read the story, you'll figure it out." But things like that have been fun. We used to read a lot together as a family, but now that they can read more on their own, it's like everybody reads their own stories. So being able to connect with her and read has been a lot of fun for me. Jacob doesn't want to do anything like that. He wants to just be a boy and be crazy, and I'm okay with that. But I feel like the seasons of life that you go through change what you can do from an activity perspective with your kids. So,
Yeah.
what's a challenge for you right now in this season with your kids that you're like, yeah, this feels really hard?
Well, for me, the age gap is a little challenging because they don't like the same things. Like Penelope being almost 9, Charlie being almost 4. Charlie's like right in the middle of toddlerhood. Can kind of do some big kid things, but PJ is just off in her own world. So one thing I do to connect with PJ is we do Girl Scouts together. So I'm the Girl Scout troop leader for her troop. We've got like 25-ish girls in the troop. It's multi-level. I'm there with PJ's age group, and I've been lucky this year. I don't even know how it happened, but I've been getting boxes of like meeting kits from the Girl Scouts being sent to my house. It's such a blessing because I did not expect to get it. And just with like this whole season of this year just being crazier than normal, it's just nice to not have to think about it and just kind of having these meetings in a box. So PJ will help me get prepared for the meeting. She's excited about it. She'll help me kind of like pass things out, and she's also participating. So it's really fun for her to have me kind of let my work guard down a little bit and just kind of have fun with the girls and just let them just be who they are and have fun too. Charlie is very into anything sports balls. And lately he's been very into Ninja Turtles. And with sports balls, we will play catch together for like 30 minutes. We'll play catch. That never happened with PJ. She was always like 5-10 minutes, every 5-10 minutes, her attention was somewhere else. And she's just like a little bebop around like a ping pong ball her own ping pong ball around the house. Charlie can really like do something for a longer period of time. So we'll sit and play. Like she doesn't really expect me to entertain him like Penelope did. So we can like be doing more quiet activities together, playing catch, playing sword fights, things like that, but then also just snuggle right after. So he's really great in that way. One thing that I haven't told many people this, but we've all started to do together is skateboard. So I've taken up skateboarding with the kids and with Chad. So there's like a really awesome skate park around our house. Charlie will have his bicycle and like he's got like a little balance bike that he likes to go like up and down on the little ramps. PJ has her scooter. She's starting to get into skateboarding too. And then I'm starting to learn too. So I'll just get out there with PJ and we'll fall together. We'll try new things together. Chad and I will take turns like following the kids around, just making sure that they're safe and stuff. But that's been really fun, something that all four of us enjoy together.
I love that. I love it when
Yeah.
you can do something all together, especially as the kids start to grow, even with the age gap, right? It's like finding things that you guys can all do together. That's my favorite thing. Okay, Rachel, as we start to wrap up, I'm going to hit you with some rapid fire questions. My favorite thing about people, and especially on Instagram, is the this or that section, right? Where you're like, which one of these are you? So I'm going to give you a couple of these and then you tell me. So when you're on vacation, mountains or beach?
Mountain. Yeah. I live near the beach, so
Okay.
I've got to choose
Tea or
mountain.
coffee?
Coffee.
All right. Coffee?
Coffee.
Okay. On vacation, plan it or wing it?
Planet.
When you're on vacation, do you plan it or wing it? Plan it? Okay. Manicure or pedicure? Which one's your go-to?
Pedicure.
Facial or
Pedicure.
massage? Podcast or a book?
It depends on the week. Lately, it's been book.
Okay. If you won $1 million, what would you buy for you? Not for the family, just for you.
That's a good vacation. Solo vacation.
A solo vacation.
Yeah.
All right. What is a podcast or a book you would recommend for busy working moms to read or listen to?
Well, I love to cook. Gosh, I really enjoyed Ina Garten's memoir. It's an easy listen. It feels like a warm hug. And it's also like an interesting story about how she built her brand and her businesses. So I really like that. I loved the memoir about Kate Spade. It's called We Just Might Make It After All. That was a beautiful story about friendship. And also it was written by one of the founders of Kate Spade, who is Kate's best friend. And so it was about their friendship and also the business that they built together. And it was just a beautiful, story about the person that she was and the life that she had. So her as a friend, as a wife, as a business person, I love that story.
Oh, I've never read that, and I will definitely listen to or read that. The Seven Husbands of Elizabeth Hugo. That's a good book. Have you read that one?
I started it. I couldn't finish it. I didn't finish it, Jess. Yeah.
It was kind of all over the place and very interesting, but it was I heard it's based on a true story, and so I thought that was a really good book. I do mostly read professional growth and development stuff, but over the last year to year and a half, I told myself I have to read for fun. I need to read to get back to things. A long time ago, before I was a mom, I was really into reading. I did all of the 50 Shades of Grey book, in like rapid fire time. And so I started to read again for me and these more fun books. So I always appreciate that. All right, Rach, as we wrap up, what is something that you would say to moms who are in their busy season right now, really struggling with identity, work, and just navigating all of the messy middle? What's a tip, quote, some piece of advice that you would love to give out to moms that maybe you've heard or that you want to just share?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to have a hobby right now, but find the things that you really like to do as a person and find time to prioritize that and double click on it. So whether it's like one night a week that you can sneak out and maybe ignore your family for a night because you're doing something to fill your cup and that is helping you be more of a well-rounded mom, go and do that thing. Even if it's sneaking out to take a walk by yourself, try to have a transition between work and home that you can just prepare yourself to go in and do the next thing so that you can be more present wherever you are. So finding the things like I enjoyed listening to books. I know you do too. Finding those quiet moments in the morning and just knowing that I really need that for myself and I make it a point to prioritize that no matter where I am. Try to build those things into your day and that'll help with the burnout too.
Yeah. That's great. All right, Rach. Well, I will see you again soon, probably at another conference in the next few months here. But I really appreciate your time, you opening up and sharing your story. Really grateful to have you on. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Jessica. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.